State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson.
Sometimes, the most haunting part of a crime is not the act itself, but the silence that follows. For weeks, Tyler Robinson sat in custody, accused of carrying out the killing that shook the country, the death of Charlie Kirk. In the courtroom, in filings and behind closed doors, one question lingered. Why? The evidence was there. The arrest was made. The charges were heavy, but the motive, the truth about what drove him to do it, remained locked away, guarded by Robinson's silence. That silence became its own kind of power, a shadow that stretched over the case, leaving families, communities, and investigators desperate for answers. And now, that silence has broken. In a confession no one saw coming, Tyler Robinson has spoken, not only about his own actions, but about the force behind them. He has claimed he was sent, that someone influenced his choice, and that he had a reason deeper than anyone first imagined. This changes everything. Because if Robinson is telling the truth, then Charlie Kirk's death was never just the act of one man. It was part of something larger, something hidden, something that may still be unfolding. Tonight, we're going to examine what Robinson confessed. We'll ask who sent him. Why did he say he did it? And what does this mean for the case, for justice, and for the questions that remain unanswered? This is not just a story of a crime. It's a story about silence, confession, and the unsettling possibility that the truth may be far more complicated than we ever expected. What do you think? Is the case moving forward carefully, or is progress being slowed by procedural delays? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and where you're watching from. To stay updated on every development, subscribe now and turn on notifications, so you stay informed as new updates become available. This is Detective Max, and together we will stay on top of the facts. After months of speculation, after endless silence, Tyler Robinson has finally spoken. For the first time since his arrest, he gave an account of what happened and why. And in that confession, he claimed something startling. He said he wasn't acting entirely alone. According to Robinson, someone influenced him. Someone sent him. And the reasons he gave go beyond what investigators first believed. For families still grieving, for a community still reeling, and for a nation still asking why, his words feel both like an answer and another riddle. Because while the silence is finally over, the confession leaves us with even more questions than before. Did Robinson reveal the full truth? Or is he shifting the blame onto others? Was he manipulated, pressured, or guided by forces bigger than himself? What we know is this: Robinson is no longer silent. And in his words, he claims to explain both the who and the why, the very pieces that have been missing since that day. But whether his confession is a roadmap to the truth, or another layer of misdirection, remains to be seen. In his confession, Robinson made a claim that immediately shifted the narrative. He said he wasn't entirely self-directed, that someone else played a role in pushing him toward the act. He didn't describe it as a simple command. Instead, he suggested it was influence, pressure, and persuasion that built over time. According to Robinson, the person he points to gave him the idea, encouraged it and reinforced it until it no longer felt like just his choice. This statement has already raised sharp debate. Prosecutors argue that Robinson is attempting to deflect responsibility, shaping his story to lessen his own accountability. They point to the evidence, the planning, the preparation, and the messages investigators uncovered, as proof that Robinson was capable of acting on his own. Investigators, meanwhile, are treating the claim cautiously. They're asking, was there a real outside force guiding him? Or is this confession a calculated attempt to redirect blame? Robinson's defense team has leaned into the claim, suggesting he was manipulated, even coerced, and that his state of mind was not entirely his own. They argue that his vulnerability was exploited, that he was influenced by someone he trusted, someone who knew how to push him toward a destructive path. But this is where the questions multiply. If Robinson is telling the truth, who exactly was behind it? Was it a direct figure giving orders, or a subtle hand planting seeds? Was he under control, or simply influenced in ways he couldn't resist? The confession forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew. And yet, for every answer it seems to provide, it opens an even bigger question. Is Robinson finally revealing the truth, or carefully constructing a story that shifts the spotlight away from himself? When Tyler Robinson finally spoke about why he carried out the act, his words carried weight, but also contradictions. He claimed his motive wasn't entirely his own. According to him, the push to target Charlie Kirk was shaped by outside influence, paired with his own growing frustrations. He described it as something bigger than anger alone, an idea that took root and spread until it felt unavoidable. But here's where the story grows complicated. Earlier evidence paints a different picture. Investigators uncovered Discord messages, where Robinson appeared to discuss plans in detail, hinting at preparation that stretched back days before the attack. In private texts to his roommate, he admitted to hiding clothing, stashing the rifle, and worrying about what would happen if authorities searched his home. Those messages suggest intent and control, not hesitation or manipulation. The contradiction is clear. Was Robinson a willing planner, or a vulnerable follower? Did his confession reveal a deeper motive, or did it attempt to reshape the narrative after the fact? Some of his words do echo the evidence. For example, in one exchange, Robinson expressed concern about his family and the impact of his choices, something that aligns with his confession of feeling pressured and conflicted. But other statements, like his claim that the act was not truly his own decision, don't fully line up with the trail of preparation investigators have already presented. So why did he do it? The truth as it stands seems layered. Perhaps it was personal, built on his own frustrations. Perhaps it was ideological, tied to beliefs that hardened over time. Or perhaps it was something deeper, an intersection of influence, vulnerability, and choice. Robinson's confession provides one explanation, but when measured against the digital footprints he left behind, the question remains, was his motive as simple as he now claims, or is it far more complicated than that? Before Tyler Robinson's confession, there was only silence. From the moment of his arrest, Robinson refused to cooperate with investigators. Question after question was met with denial, avoidance, or nothing at all. In court hearings, his presence was quiet, almost defiant, offering no glimpse into what drove him. That silence became one of the most frustrating parts of the investigation. Prosecutors built their case with physical evidence and digital trails, but without Robinson's voice, the motive remained a void. For the families involved, that silence was unbearable. For the public, it left room for speculation, theories, and endless questions. Why wouldn't he speak? Some believed it was a legal strategy, holding back to protect himself from making damaging admissions. Others thought it was psychological, that he was unprepared to confront what he had done, or unwilling to relive it. And for many, it looked like a refusal to accept responsibility. But eventually the silence cracked, and that moment was as puzzling as the words themselves. Why confess now? Was it the mounting legal pressure, as prosecutors pushed forward with the most serious charges available? Was it bargaining, a hope that speaking out might shift the outcome of his trial? Or was it guilt, a heavy weight he could no longer carry in silence? We don't yet know the full reason Robinson chose this moment to speak. But what is clear is that the silence, once so powerful, has been replaced by a confession that reshapes everything. And yet, even with his words finally spoken, the truth is still not simple. His voice may have broken the silence, but it has not ended the mystery. Robinson's confession doesn't just affect his own case, it has ripple effects that reach much further. For the justice system, the claim that he was influenced or even sent by someone else raises urgent questions. If his words are true, then the investigation cannot stop with him. Others could be implicated, others could be charged, and the case could expand beyond a single defendant. Prosecutors now face the challenge of separating fact from strategy, deciding whether Robinson's claims point to new suspects, or whether they are simply an attempt to shift the weight of responsibility. Beyond the courtroom, this confession shines a light on something bigger: the dangers of influence, manipulation, and hidden agendas. In an age where online conversations can spiral into dangerous territory, where communities and individuals can be persuaded, radicalized, or pressured into destructive action, Robinson's story is not just about one man, it's about the environment that allowed his choices to take shape. Unchecked anger, when reinforced by secrecy and echo chambers, can create a storm powerful enough to push vulnerable people past the edge. Robinson's confession forces us to ask whether this was simply one man's decision, or whether he was a product of a darker system of influence, working quietly in the background. And perhaps most unsettling of all, it leaves us with a question that reaches far beyond this single case. If manipulation played a role here, how many others might be vulnerable to the same forces? The bigger picture is not just about guilt and innocence. It's about the risks of silence, the weight of influence, and the cost of ignoring the warning signs until it's too late. For those who are just joining this story, here's what we know. Charlie Kirk was killed while speaking at an event. Within just over a day, Tyler Robinson was identified and taken into custody after his own family recognized him from released images. From there, the charges grew serious: aggravated murder, obstruction, tampering, and more. Prosecutors have already made it clear they are seeking the highest penalties available under the law. The evidence gathered against Robinson has been extensive. DNA linked him to the weapon. Investigators traced messages and digital activity, suggesting planning, and his own texts revealed attempts to hide clothing and remove items connected to the crime. For months, all of this pointed in one direction: a calculated act, carried out alone. But now, with Robinson's confession, the case has shifted once again. Because if his words are true, then this was never just the story of one man. It becomes the story of influence, manipulation, and the unsettling possibility that the truth is far larger than anyone first believed. Charlie Kirk's death remains a wound still fresh, a loss that echoes far beyond the walls of a courtroom. For many, the search for answers has been as painful as the tragedy itself. Tyler Robinson's confession gives us a glimpse into the silence he carried for so long. Yet instead of clarity, his words leave us at the edge of even more uncertainty. If what he says is true, then this may never have been one man's decision at all. It may have been the product of influence, persuasion, or pressure, forces that extend beyond Robinson himself. And that possibility opens the door to something larger, something darker, and something unresolved. It forces us to confront a difficult truth, that behind every act like this, there may be shadows we haven't yet uncovered, and questions we haven't yet asked. In the end, Robinson's confession doesn't close this story, it expands it. And until every thread is followed, until every influence is exposed, the search for truth will continue.